get this book. It's called The
Okay.
Aging Myth.
It's called The Aging Myth. And what's the doctor's name? Dr.
Dr. Joseph Chang,
Chang. Okay.
Chang.
Okay.
And he talks about belief systems. And he says, think about, back in 1954, no one believed that the 4 minute mile could be broken. Okay.
Mm.
So 1954, there's Roger Bannister was the first athlete to bust that belief. And then since then, thousands of people have busted that 4 minute mile. And we have high schoolers today that are breaking that record, right?
Yeah, I
So,
almost broke the record. I had like a 5:15 mile, but if I could have gotten another
wow,
minute and 15, well, I was like probably 15 and 130 pounds
right?
or something. But yeah, I mean, that was like impossible. And it's interesting, everyone, and Susanna, you remember this. They were doctors that were saying that the human heart would burst if
Yeah,
somebody ran the mile like under that time. And they were just like, it's impossible. Here's the angle of blood and the artery thickness and everything, and it'll just explode, so no one try it. And
yeah,
obviously we're not correct.
right. And so what is a belief system or a belief? It's a story that we tell ourselves to be true
Wow.
until someone comes around and dispels that story or busts that story open. And also, like you said, nowadays we're expanding our levels of consciousness, that we're taking these old belief systems and now new ones are arising from that expanded awareness. And so this comes into play, our awareness in our belief system in how we feel, how we look, and how we age. It's called epigenetics. This is the science of how we look and feel and age based on our genes. So that work itself, because I have always wondered about,
Mhm.
can we control how we look and feel? So Dr. Joseph Chang busted that open for me because I thought there's a me in 40 years from now. And he ultimately told me, no, that is not the case. You're going to chronologically age. We all will.
Hmm.
Okay. We have a lifespan. Okay. And because of medical advancements these days, our lifespan is being extended. And we have the potential genetically to actually live a really long health span. But however, we have a now a decline in health span. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. And so our work is around how do we close the gap between lifespan and health span so that we can align our experiences with health, vitality, longevity. And that's where this type of work comes into play. It's this busting open this belief that no, we can't control how we biologically age and influence our genes that are responsible for those experiences. And that's the kind of work with epigenetics, and we can do those things. So yeah.
I want to ask everyone, that's a very interesting point, and I like the awareness we're bringing in about the difference between lifespan and age span, right? So a lot of people I've heard say, well, you know what? I don't want to live to be 90 or 100 because then, everyone will have to take care of me. I can't walk. I can't really do things I used to do. What fun is that going to be? And it's interesting how both those things could actually affect that destiny coming true, that you don't live into your 90s. Why is it important, I mean, to actually have a long health span versus just a long lifespan? I mean, I can imagine, we want to be healthy, right? But there's something else going on, right? It's about really quality of life, isn't it?
It is. Think of it as a light switch. You turn on or
Mm,
off. And so our life, our experience of life, in terms of our potential, is to live a long lifespan with equivalent health span, which is completely possible. So that one day it's on and then turns off. And there's not the sense of decline in the latter half of there's 20, 30 years. And fortunately, with science and advancements in this research, I'm starting to see more people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s look younger now
Mm.
because they're making those changes. Darius, do you remember when we were young, like in our
We are still young.
teenagers?
I'm still
Right, we
young.
are. We're very, very young
If y'all
comparison.
want me to, I'm still young.
Exactly, right? But when I used to look at a 40-year-old when I was 12, they look old to me.
Hmm.
They look like a grandparent. But now a 40-year-old these days, 50, looks younger now. A 50-year-old looks more younger, like in their late 30s now. So along the last 20, 30 years, because of our evolution of our consciousness, how is that possible that we're starting to see people at those age groups look more youthful?
Are you saying that consciousness is changing if we grab onto it to where like we actually are aging differently than maybe 30 years ago? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. Epigenetics, epi means above. Okay,
Okay.
so we are born into this life with a body with a set of genes, 26,000 genes. And this was discovered, I think it was in the 80s, 90s, of the discovery of our genes. Now, each gene is responsible for an aspect of our body,
Yeah.
right? So when we're youthful, we have genes that are responsible for detoxification, like optimal detoxification, energy, skin health, all kinds of things. And think of a Christmas tree that's lit up with lights. And I have some photos I can show you to show the lighting up of gene expression.
Okay.
And I'll show those photos. You could see the difference between a youthful gene expression, and these are little light switches that signal, those genes to turn off or off. And so, so keep it simple for your audience to understand. I got some notes here, but when you're young, those genes are expressing youthfully, and
Mhm.
so those functions of our body are optimal.
Mm.
As we age, okay, we influence those functions based on our how we think, the mental stressors, okay, fight or flight. What we eat, if we're eating whole foods and good foods versus processed foods and sugars and all those things, those influence our genes. The environment that we live in, those environmental stressors impact the expression of those genes. And so by the time we're in our 30s, 40s, and 50s, we could either be, again, we control biological aging. We could be innocently accelerating aging,
Okay.
or for those of us, I'll show you some interesting twin studies. You could see one twin older
Hmm.
and the other twin 10 years younger. And
Interesting.
they share the same genetic code.
Okay, I want to show everybody something kind of interesting. And when you said that we may be as a collective starting to change, or something is changing the way that we see age, which this is actually a good thing that benefits everybody here. So, like, you guys are, I think, because human consciousness is evolving, we're actually changing. And I didn't verify all these numbers, so maybe I'm wrong on, or this is wrong. But I want y'all to look at this and tell me if this kind of blows your mind. See if y'all can see this. Of course, we remember some of these lovable characters from television of years past, and I can name all of them except for Fred Sanford from Sanford and Son. Y'all do the research. Was he really 48 years old? That's to say.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
Archie Bunker, Carol O'Connor was 48 years old. Now, I don't know that other guy. I don't remember. I don't remember that guy from Cocoon. I don't know what show that was. And then who can forget the venerable Mr. Roper, fun landlord on Three's Company, was 53 years old, apparently. And Flo was only 39, and
Wow.
Alice was only 43, I guess, and Edith,
Yeah.
44. And the Golden Girls, well, they were 50. Everybody's like, so, I mean, is this age actually a real thing? This is the point, Suzanne. I think you're making it, and I am. Is it a real thing, or is it a construct that could change over time? Because again, you go back to the ancient text, you go back to the Bible, people were living, and it was reported 200-300 years, some people 700 years
Yeah.
old. What happened? What was placed on the consciousness belief system that all of a sudden had these tiny little lifespans, and by like 60, 70, you're now no longer able to do things, and maybe you're worried about major diseases? I mean, it's ridiculous. It is changing, but it's not enough. It's not enough. And I think what's happening to our bodies from a lot of the environmental issues and a lot of the ascension energies, we've got to address, because there's a lot of pressure being put on humans right now.
Well, again, I think over time collectively, if we're all buying into a specific story, okay, that's again, our thoughts really do impact, the expression of our body. Because our cells, like the work of Dr. Bill, I think was it Bruce Lipton, the biology of belief, he can literally in the scientific environment can
Mm,
see that the cells are listening. And what are they listening to? And reacting to, because our body is trying to maintain balance at all times. Okay, here's a key thing: homeostasis. It wants to survive, and it only does that by trying to maintain. If there's too much, so let's say there's a fight or flight response, there's a fear base, the body will react to
mm,
adjust itself in order to maintain balance. And then when the fight or flight response is back to peace, it'll adjust. Okay, so the body is always listening to our quality of thinking. That's another thing, the quality of our thinking. And I hear a lot of people nowadays, I see, okay, we're living in a society where we have a dysregulated nervous system.
okay.
Hear that? Okay. Because there's a power in the understanding of how to go from a dysregulated nervous system where you're stressed out, you're feeling high stress, and someone doesn't know how to bring it back to a peaceful state where you're now like, in the animal kingdom,
Yes.
there's a deer and they know that there's a predator nearby, and they go into a fight or flight state response. They flee. Okay. And then they find themselves, okay, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden they're back to grazing again. Okay.
Mm,
That's a normal response. They regulate their nervous system. However, humans stay in that state of fight or flight for a long period of time without coming back to homeostasis. Why? Because we're thinking the same thing all the time. It's a
yes.
time loop. Fear, flight, fear-based thinking. We're always either looking forward into the future, worrying about what could have possibly happened by a belief system that we're buying into, and we're basing it on our past. Okay, so we're forming our future based on these fear-based thinking. And then what's happening to our body? We don't take into consideration that our cells are constantly listening. And by listening to or thinking and buying into a story, we're actually impacting our biological aspect of ourselves. And then all of a sudden, you ever see someone who went into a period of life where they're in crisis,
Right.
where they lost a life, and then a year later, they look like they've aged 5 years, 10 years. It's all of us like,
Mm.
whoa, you aged so fast in the span of a year, because their cells were responding to their mental consciousness.
What are some signs, Suzanne? I mean, that's a very interesting thing. So it's the way I see this is it's almost like something gets turned on, this fight or flight response. And then, of course, if it doesn't get turned off and your cells are programmed for that survival and that process of constant, like, state of just survive, just, try to get through without the rest repair, then you can accelerate aging. So, what are some of the, I guess, signs that that's been kicked on. That little switch has been turned on in the body, in the cells.
One of the big markers is inflammation,
Okay.
believe it or
Okay.
not.
Yeah, it
Inflammation in
makes
the
sense.
body. There are other aspects too, but there's a term called oxidative stress. Okay. And oxidative stress is, if I may, I can show you a
Yeah,
picture
please show
of what
me.
oxidative
I
stress
want to
looks
see it.
like. I have so many pictures I could show you, but let me pull up the right one here. So oxidative stress so we have 30,000 trillion cell, 30,000, 30 trillion cells, and they're designed to thrive. Okay, so if we're under the proper conditions of a cell, they're getting all the nutrition it needs, it's thriving, it's doing all the things. And then we have something called a molecule called free radical. And a free radical is these little molecules that attack your cell. Oh, here it is. Okay. They attack your cell. Okay. They attack your cell and they attack. And your cells, you're born with the antidote to that called a antioxidant. And an antioxidant are these little soldiers that surround your cell to fight off these oxidative stressors, these little free radicals. Okay. So when you were born, we have an abundant source of antioxidants, natural antioxidants that we have in our body.
Okay.
Glutathione. Okay. Glutathione is one of the big antioxidants. You probably see a lot of glutathione supplements now. But as we age, if we continue to allow ourselves to stress out a lot, we actually become dysfunctional in our ability to staff off these stressors. So our antioxidant levels will actually decrease over time. As they decrease over time, the symptoms are accelerated biological aging. Okay, that's one symptom. The second thing is you start to feel less energy.
Okay. So
Okay.
anybody feeling less energy right now, or just kind of you've noticed like an energetic decline, and maybe other things declining, let us know in the chat. Okay. So those are some of the signs. What are some others?
We start to see going into your 30s and 40s, you start to feel the aches and pains, the joints. Again, this is inflammation. You
Hmm.
have high oxidative stress. You have low antioxidant protection because we're in that constant fight or flight. Also, if we're eating foods that are not conducive to optimal nutritional health for our cells, then all of a sudden our body is having to metabolize these lack of nutrients or these processed foods. Now you're having to engage other aspects of your health, and if it's too much over time, then we are degrading our cells' abilities to do their job under those conditions. So we see aging. Let me show you that this is interesting because this is where we're going to go, whoa. Let me pull it up right here. Share. Okay. All right. Here's some twin studies.
Hmm.
Now,
Can you
these,
can you pull zoom out your view? There you go. You can just keep this open, Suzanne, because I know you got a lot of great information. And so yeah, just keep running through it. I love these. Okay, these are twins.
these are
Okay.
sisters.
Okay.
Okay. Same biological parents. Okay. They are born with the same genetic DNA.
Mm.
However, because of their biological aging, their thinking, their stressors, their foods they eat, the environment that they live, they be separate. You start to age differently over time. Okay. One's looking more youthful than the other one. She had the discoloration in her skin. Look at her hair. This one over here, twin B over twin A. Twin B has lines and wrinkles, puffiness under her eyes.
Hmm.
That is not a symptom of genes because your mom had those lines and wrinkles. Lines and wrinkles are caused by high oxidative stress, inflammation of the cells, not being able to function due to stress, basically, or lack of nutrition, or all the things that we're putting our bodies through. Okay. Here's another one. I'm going to exit really quick. These are brothers.
Wow.
Okay. One looks like the father.
Hmm.
They're twins.
So what's the guy with the gray hair doing that we don't want to do?
He's probably had a very, very stressful life.
Or not been able to support the body through the life events, I guess, right? You can run through it
Yeah.
all, Susanna. I
Yeah.
love this. Okay, yeah.
Hey, here's two 80-year-olds.
Hmm.
One is looks amazing. And we're seeing a lot more people now. And this is
Yeah.
another thing about our consciousness is if we could see, because we're a see it and believe it society, if we could see people thriving and looking differently, then more people are going to buy into that new level
Yes.
of belief system.
Yes. Yes. It's funny. They say that when DeSoto actually got to the New World and he parked his ships, out to sea, they were trying to show the native peoples the ships. And, they were out there right in the bay for them to see, and they couldn't see the ships. And he kept, trying to show them and pointing to them, and they couldn't see it because their consciousness couldn't imagine it. Their eyes couldn't actually visually recognize such a thing out into the reality field. And this is the
Mhm.
same thing. So like look at this picture as much as you can. And if it feels uncomfortable, that's okay. But which would you rather be? And it's like, I'm sure the lady, they're both nice ladies. It's not a judgment, but it's like, what is possible? That's the question. What is possible? And what is our mind seeing? If I say 80 years old, what do you see? Do you ever see a lady like the one on the left? I mean, I don't in my mind, but I'm going to start looking at that. So my mind just immediately feeds me that image. I mean, 100%. And I've also noticed this is my pet peeve, right? I get these ads, on the computer, and it's like, are you over 40 and you have, incontinence, and here's an adult diaper and all this like stuff. And then the guy they're showing's like got all white hair, he's got like a beard, and I'm like, they're like it feels like trying to uh age in trying to accelerate like the connection to advanced age based on a certain number. It's like, no, I wouldn't see someone 40 years old with white hair ever, like generally, unless they just were like prematurely gray, but generally that's not what I imagine. But I noticed that it's really interesting. Anyway, great, keep going, Susanna. This is good stuff.
No, the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, I love his work because he's now engaging epigenetic science in his retreats. So he's literally measuring
Mm,
genetic expression of his participants, especially those that are coming in with uh, illnesses and body issues. And he just meditating, and because what he's really doing in his retreats is he's regulating all of their nervous systems to a more peaceful state. Okay, so your body is actively in that process, and it is measurable in a brain scan or an epigenetic study. He draws their blood, he's doing before and afters, and you can clearly see the genetic expressions of their participants. And then all of a sudden, they're starting to feel better and calmer and clearer. And I'm going to show you what it looks like under. Um, okay, I think this is a good one to show what that means. Okay, so we have in the epigenetics research place, each little line here represents, oops, a gene. Sorry, let me go back. Okay, so when we're young, if we were to look at a youthful individual for, let's say, for energy, okay, what's responsible for energy. And we could take those specific genes responsible for energy, put them under this special technology.
Okay.
It's called gene chip. And we could see, wow, there's a lot of green over here. And those are flipped on switches that are providing energy. And then we have the red, which is a little bit downregulated, okay? As they age, here's what we call an old gene expression, where it's flipped. Okay, we
Right.
see the downregulation, and then we see the upregulation of the other parts that are, it's struggling. And so here's what you were asking about nutrigenomics. And this
Okay.
is where,
I was just thinking about that. I was like, what's nutrigenomics? And so just so everyone can follow along. So it looks like looking at this through this lens. What was this technology called? The view, how they view this
yeah, it's a
chip.
gene chip. Let me see if I have I might have it in here, what it
Oh,
looks
it's
like.
okay.
So it's a gene chip. Here it is. Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a gene chip.
Okay, so
And
they did this with healthy skin and aged skin, and it looks
Mhm.
like, I mean, not to be simplistic, but it looks like with the healthy skin, there's certain low expressions of things you don't want, high
Mhm.
expressions, obviously, of things you want, and then at some point it flips. So as we get older, it's not just that we're getting older, it's that certain things get expressed that even if the young person expressed it, they would get old fast, right?
Mhm.
Probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could, I mean, eat like an entire pizza. That will change your genetic expression of certain things in your
Mm,
diet, which is causing that genetic expression. Now, if you continue eating that capacity for a long period of time, then the body is struggling, it's inflammation and all the
okay.
things start to show off. But nutrigenomics is the science of using nutrients to
Okay.
change that genetic expression. And
Mm,
we found in our labs that that because there's a lot of studying different ingredients, like, okay, out of the vast millions of ingredients out there, which ingredients can be ingested to influence the genetic expression of skin health
right.
or joint health or those types of things. And it's painstakingly, like, it's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Well, yeah,
And
you'd spend a fortune buying a
those,
billion different things on Amazon that are supplements.
Mhm.
And you're like, oh, I take this for skin, I take this, I take this. But you don't even know if that's actually influencing your genes. Like, that's okay, you're taking it, your body's having to process all that, but it's also putting a strain on your liver. So you got to like break it all down. And you really don't know if that's even making a difference in your actual gene expression. And are you getting to that point where certain things that you don't want to be expressed are actually repressed and not activated? So, I mean, that's kind of like, just throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall and hoping it fits and hoping you maybe don't do harm, in addition to spending quite a bit of money.
That's exactly right. And because the supplement industry is not regulated, the consumer are thinking that we think we need this, we think we need that. And I'll see ads on Facebook. Okay, if you're, in your 50s, you're probably low on magnesium, so you need
Mm-hmm.
5,000 IUs or whatever. And so we blindly take on a belief around something, and then we'll go try to find, a quality we think on Amazon, base our purchasing decision on the price, and then it's a pretty label, and then we'll take it, and then we have ask anyone. I'm in this field, so, and I work with a lot of wellness practitioners. And I do the survey. I go, there's 70% of your clients are taking a form of supplementation. Okay. They go, yes, that's true. 8 out of 10 people. I said, but 0 out of 10 people know that whatever they're taking is actually being absorbed or actually working in their body. And they're like, correct. We don't know. We're doing this very blindly.
Mm,
So, um, the science is interesting because, again, oops. There has to, you have to be looking at what you're putting in your body. Now, if we have this awareness, okay, like I can make certain choices knowing how am I going to improve, um, my quality of life? How can I control my biological aging? And science does show that if you can eat better foods, like whole foods, like colorful fruits and vegetables, health, like going out and exercising, going out in the sun. There's natural things that we could do to influence our genetic expression. Okay. Meditation, um, regulating our nervous system
Yeah.
more constantly. So we're not in that. A woman who is going into perimenopause, if she's on a fight or flight state of being, her cortisol levels are spiking all the time. And then we wonder, oh, wow. Okay, we see those characters, in the TV and they're in their 40s and 50s and they have awakening around their middle part of their body. And we think that's me when I turn 40 or turn 50 because we're just going to gain weight.
Right.
That's just how it is. And it is totally not the truth at
Now I've got
all.
a question, Susanna. Can you go back to the age chip? Well, the graphics with the screening for ingredients blends. This one's right here. So I want to get more into this nutrigenomics. I think a lot of people realize that lifestyle is important, but what you've discovered is that some research, right? A huge amount of research is now discovering ways to supercharge this, like 10x this beyond what we thought we could do. And this is where we're looking at these ingredients in these blends. So we've got a question from Anna. What is ingredient number 4 in the last image? Because she wants to know, like, what makes up that shift where this is turned on. I mean, I think that's really the crux of what I think we'd all like to get is like get to the point where we get to this sweet spot and we're able to do this, like basically have this all the time to where we're staying in the younger gene expression without necessarily having to have a perfect life. It is not always easy to be perfect and go for a walk and meditate. I mean, I've got 2 kids. I've got, all sorts of things going on, right? And yes, I do my best, but it'd be good to know that internally my body is getting the nutrigenomics to actually do this on its own without me thinking about it. I've got a common saying is that I can't chew gum and walk at the same time, much less make sure that I stay in that green zone. So let's get into the technology of what you are uncovering and what is being created right now, actually, not 20 years from now, right now.
So there's a lot of painstakingly done research around specific ingredients. So there's a body of research out there called ageLOC, and Dr. Joseph Chang, who wrote the book The Aging Myth, heads that research. And they found, and we give you like one of the products that I've been taking for quite some time because there's specific ingredients that influence your skin, your brain, your heart, different aspects of your, let me show you. Oops, I don't know how I got out of there. Hang on. Let me share. Let me pull that up because they're asking about ingredient. Here we go. Now, there's specific ingredients you can find, out there, like ultra pure fish concentrate, like this super clean, ultra pure that you'll find. If you look in Asia, if you look at Asian skin, can you see? I mean, they don't have a lot of lines of wrinkles, but they eat a lot of high concentrate of fish. Okay.
Yeah. But then the challenge is with a lot of fish, they found there's mercury in
Yeah.
fish and other things. So it's like, yeah, I'd love to have a bunch of fish, but then you get a lot of other stuff because our seas are often,
Yes,
polluted.
where the
Yeah,
sources. Yeah.
mercury. I think I said mercury and other things. Yeah.
Mercury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I said.
Big fish, big tunas. The bigger the fish, the more concentration of mercury they may
Yeah,
have.
it's the lifespan. It's like the
Mhm.
longer lived fish, they accumulate that. So then what do you do? I mean, this is the problem, right? You get on a show like this, I'm gonna eat more fish, and you go eat more fish. First, it's super expensive, then you get a lot of mercury, and then you're like, ah, that didn't work, and now you're back to normal. So, I
Mhm.
mean, there has to be a way to get all of this stuff together and just not worry, like trust and just be like, okay, I got it. So
Yeah.
fish would be great, but we got to watch for the mercury.
Mhm.
And then what in the world is purple corn cob? I've never,
Yeah.
I
This
never
is purple corn is found in South America, quite prevalent in South America, and they found that they have what we call anthocyanin.
hmm.
Anthocyanin is the blue color. I mean, blueberries have anthocyanin, or any blue, I think it was black rice has anthocyanin.
Oh yeah.
Anthocyanins are responsible for aspects of our health that are very important for our gut health and just overall the aging defense mechanism. So aging defense mechanism is like your ability to detox, to process, metabolize, to anti-age. Those are defense mechanisms that we're born with that are very optimal when we're younger, but as
Hmm.
we get older, degrade because of our lifestyle choices. Okay, so there's specific ingredients that are found in different parts of the world that are super rich of this specific ingredient that were tested in a laboratory setting for specific we call them youth gene clusters. These clusters of genes in 26,000 strand, and specifically what are, for skin, for health, for vitality, for energy, for just more, youthful look and feel. We found that citrus bioflavonoids are important as well for antioxidant health, very high concentrated form. Astaxanthin is another one that just was a research study, just a release that was for eye health and just,
Okay.
just overall health, and rosemary leaf extract. These were all tested to influence the genetic expression of those youth gene clusters. It's interesting.
Okay.
Okay. So you could try to source these yourself, or you could work with research that they've done all the work for us. They've done all the pain of figuring that out. And that's where nutrigenomic science comes into play. It's like find a source or a company that has done all that research and said, okay, we've done all of thousands of ingredients that influence these genetic markers. Here they are. And we've done our studies.
Because the other part of this too, isn't it like the actual amounts and the combination of the amounts? It's like there's ratios that you have to look at, getting too much of one thing or not enough of the other could completely eradicate the results. And then you have absorption, right? Okay, I could eat a
Mhm.
lot of this particular substance, but
Mhm.
can my body actually absorb this rare coin, this rare type of corn? And do I have the enzyme to actually digest that? Because a lot of people these days have digestion issues. So sometimes, like, going to raw food in and of itself, even if you can source it, if you can combine it all, if you can remember to take it every day and not have supply chain disruptions because, some corn that you're buying from, wherever is no longer available, it gets to be challenging. I think this is where people drop off and they'll do it for a little while and they're like, I couldn't keep up with it. So I'm very interested in this. So how does this, let's say we're like, okay, I want the skin gene expression in that red and green, breakdown that was most favorable. How do I get that? What's the answer? How do we start to source that?
Well, I want to circle back really quick because you just hit a point that's really important because we play chemist for our
Yep.
own body. And we think that we go to the farmer's market, okay, or we go to the Whole Food store and we eat better vegetables and things like that. However, we don't consider the fact that our soil since the 1960s have severely depleted mineral sources in our soil. So to get the same amount of vitamin C in the 1950s for one orange, we'd have to eat 25 oranges today to get the same amount of vitamin C because of the depletion of our source of minerals. So, and most people don't know that. So there was a study that was released last year as a Lancet study by Harvard. where they studied the population of the planet. And they were looking to see where in the planet, geographically, where there was, it was a micronutrient deficiency study. So where can I find a population where they have the most nutrients in their system at the levels where they're operating at an optimal level? And it was 0.02% that were barely operating at a 50% level. And it was a very small general population. So the outcome of the study was that 8 billion people, 9.8 out of 10 people are nutrient deficient. Why is that? It's because our environment, our soil, our stressors, our thinking, our mindset, our consciousness, it's all of the above.
Mm.
But the soil and the environment and what's in the air is causing that micronutrient deficiency. So this
Oh.
has been information. This is 2024. And how is it that, here's the question, how could a growing wellness industry, a supplement industry, $300 billion strong, coexist with a micronutrient deficiency society on a global scale? Okay. We're unaware consumers, unaware of what we're purchasing. We're playing chemist, so we think that we're taking extra magnesium.
Mm.
We're not considering cofactors like you're saying. So abundance of too much vitamin, I think it was vitamin C or magnesium will out neutralize zinc and other sources of nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
Nutrients are trying to fight for
Mm-hmm.
themselves. So you have to, if you understand that piece of information, which is really important, because then we're throwing our money away. Like you said, putting noodles on throwing spaghetti at a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm showing is all the science behind is taking consideration where we're sourcing those ingredients. So there's a plentitude of nutrients, because we're very picky on that. And then the cofactoring, making sure that the ingredients and the nutrients are not fighting themselves, but they're actually synergistic. And then they're influencing the genetic expression of your DNA. And
Wow.
there's a lot going on.
And this is called, I think, some of the ageLOC technology. And Denise brings in a great question. Is it all bioavailable to our gut? That's exactly right. We don't know when we start sourcing all this stuff if it is actually going to be absorbed or if it's going to irritate. So with that, I mean, there's a challenge here, but there's a huge opportunity because the technology is there, right? Looking at which genes express in health, youthfulness, joint vitality, skin vitality, which genes are, not expressed. And being able to do that through nutrition is really the world of nutrigenomics. So now I know what it is. I won't drown if someone asks me to tell them what nutrigenomics is. It's basically affecting what genes get turned on, what genes get turned off through nutrition, right? What expressions? Share with us, can I see what this comes out as? Like what are some of the nutrigenomic options that people can begin to actually use and bring into their life? What does that look like? Is it a pill?
Yeah.
Is it a vitamin? Is it a combination of things?
Yeah. So those ingredients I was sharing earlier is in a product called Youth.
Okay.
And it's the name of it, it was very well named well, because it is reversing the genetic expression of your youth gene clusters. Okay.
Hmm.
Here's a woman in her late 40s. She was on it for 2 months. Bags, just you could see just
Oh,
on,
wow.
yeah, she's a good friend of mine too. I asked to
Oh,
get permission. Can I
she's
borrow your?
beautiful either way, but I can see that it feels like to me energetically there's less stuck energy just in her face. I mean, I feel like there's something there that's not her, that's just there that needs to somehow.
Mhm.
Hmm.
She said to me, the reason why I chose her is because she's going into menopause, perimenopause, and you're having those perimenopausal symptoms. And even though isn't described to help perimenopausal symptoms, she noticed, because she was addressing inflammation in her body, that it was addressing those symptoms. She saw a reduction in them. She was sleeping better at night. Her energy levels were improving because it was a systemic approach to her whole entire health. And so a byproduct of that is those symptoms that women tend to have
Hmm.
around that time, that age when your body's changing. So that was a big deal. Here's some hands if you want to see. This was in Asia. Men, I think it was a male. You could just see their hands. That is changing. And again, these you can
Oh, wow. These are the same hands. I thought it was left hand versus right. These are the same hands.
these are the same hands. Yeah.
It looks like the joints are less swollen and inflamed. Like I see
Yeah.
it's the skin, but I see some very swollen joints almost out of alignment in the first one. Like they're just, like that arthritic
Mhm.
hand. Yeah.
Age related, we call them biological age related arthritis. That's inflammation. Inflammation.
Can
Again,
you
these are,
zoom out a little bit? I want to see the before again.
yes.
Okay. Wow.
Mhm.
Interesting.
There's
Okay.
another, here's a male. I like to use males because women tend to wear makeup and things like that. But I want to show a male of 60 days on youth. And it's a little bit
No,
blurry, but
that's amazing. 60 days. Now we know this guy's probably not, doing much for his skin because he's a dude, but he's using he's using what we've been talking about, which is the combination of all these nutrigenomics in the right amounts, sourced the right way, tested against like multiple different genetic variants. And this is what that's yeah, that's amazing. And this guy's probably not been like doing like facial care for his whole life.
no,
He was
no,
probably, in the Korean War, like driving a tank. God bless his soul. But I mean, just not some dude that's of the generation where he's exfoliating.
right. And see, that's the thing. And this is a belief system we want to bust open
I know, right, Deb?
that you can't reverse. Dr. Joe Dispenza says that we have, I mean, according to his philosophy, we have
Hmm.
the immortal gene in us. And
Mm.
that circles back to your potential of a lifespan of 8 to 900 years. That capacity and potentiality is there. It's just that over time and I don't know, decades and decades and centuries, we have adopted belief systems that are
Hmm.
contrary to that potential.
And
Therefore, mhm,
yeah. And I got to be honest. I mean, like, I love the idea of consciousness helping us live longer, but I got to be very clear. I am not there yet that I can really feel that, yes, I can make some changes to my health and vitality. I've been doing that. But do I think that I'm just going to will myself to live to be 300 or something? I don't know if I'm there. Like, I need more help. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love the mindfulness and I do all that. But it's like, I want nutrients. I want things that are shown in a lab to actually express the genes I want and not express the ones I don't want because the moment and this is for everybody, it's great to say, well, I'm going to be more mindful and forgiven. I do that. That's part of my life. But the moment I get irritated or I have the stress, I'm going to think to myself, oh my God, I just undid all that month of, trying to turn on those genes because I got mad because, something happened. And I'm like, I want to feel that nutritionally I'm supported. Or if I go out and I breathe in like some chemtrail, I don't want to feel like I just undid 10 years of like, eating organic food. Like I want to know I'm supported, whether it's Armageddon or I go into ascension. I want the stuff to support my body and it's less stress for me. I don't know if y'all feel that way, but let me know because I kind of feel like I want the technology to match what my consciousness is trying to do. Because that's what I'm trying to say. I want both. I want to bring it together for once and not have to just do it with my will or my mind or my heart. It's like I want all of it. I want the whole package.
yeah, and that was my engineering, scientific, analytical brain
Yeah.
is to bridge the gap of this theory, but there's science that's saying yes, we are working through this. Epigenetic is a fascinating science in itself, mind body connection, and how
Mm,
our quality of thinking. So yes, if you're supporting your cells under those right conditions with those proper nutrients, and I mean, we're seeing people biologically age in reverse. And
mm,
of course, you're going to get a stress, or you're going to get something that hits you, a big bill in the mail, like, oh, shoot,
right.
that. But if also people learn how to self-regulate their nervous system too, you're like, I can handle this. This is okay. Well, I'm going to feel it for a little bit, but I can handle it. Come back to homeostasis, do a little meditation, calm down your heart rate, and then all of a sudden we open ourselves to a better quality of thinking because we're in a better state of mind. That also has influence over our genetic expression. So yes, nutrients that have done, by someone that's done all the work for us, and then okay, I can take that on, and then have soothing our nervous regulated system or dysregulated system also helps too.
I agree.
Yeah, and there's a study now that by 2050, over 4 million, we'll have 4 million centurions living
Mm,
because of advancements and of medical advancements and just level of consciousness. So there will be someone who will hit 150, Darius, and then you're going to believe it.
that's right.
And then
It'll,
you're going to go, okay, I can do that too.
yeah, I think that is, it's like, exactly. And that's kind of the truth is that until we get to the point, there's like people living to be 300 years old, we it would be great to have support nutritionally, nutrigenomically,
Yes.
to accelerate that for us. Because I think that it was Annette. She's been a great contributor. She's absolutely right. She's like, how do you control the frequency and vibration of the energy soup in which we all live? And it's the toxic soup. It's the chemical soup, right? How do you make sure you have all cylinders firing? And we're going to talk about that in a
Great
moment. It's
question.
pretty cool because there's ways to do it from inside and out. Like the guy that was driving the tank in the Korean War. Picture, that guy really looks different. Something is going on there. And I'm sure he's very mindful, but at the same time, he's got some support that I think is pretty amazing. We're going to talk about it. Supportive science. We're going to do a process to start people on this path, is what we always love to do. It's called flip on the youth switch. So we're going to, I think, take one of those areas, right, which is probably going to be mindfulness and turning on what we can through our emotions and through our vibration and through our energy. And then we're going to hopefully get a chance to turn on some people to the second part, which is the cutting edge science. It's literally changing how people age. And that's super exciting. So tell us what we're going to do, Susanna. And I recommend everyone do not drive or operate heavy equipment. And if you have been following along, join this interview and you're on one of the social sites or Facebook, we're going to be posting the process on Susanna's special page, youwealthrevolution.com/Susanna 30. And you're going to want to check that out. SUSANNA 30. We'll have the full interview there. I'm going to stop the live stream for the folks on the social sites, but you're going to want to join these live calls because that's where we're going to really get to work with you and you'll get everything. So go to our site and join. And Susanna, I know you're going to do something pretty amazing. So what are we going to do? And let's take it away.
All right. So I want us to thank everyone here in this call. And if you're listening to the replay,